And the other thing is, we're talking about attempt. We only say attempt because you're still here.
Yes.
Well,
Okay?
and
but in fact,
it was successful.
You actually you died.
Yeah.
Yes. Welcome, Rocky. Welcome, Roxanna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So glad you guys could be here today.
Yeah.
So found it okay. I know sometimes it's a little bit. The hills have eyes coming out here.
Yeah.
No, we're familiar with the area, though.
We're pretty familiar. We used to live over by Arroyo Ranch, so.
Okay.
Just off 150. And then we used to have friends that lived in one of the developments just a little bit off of the curve.
Okay. Well, super excited to be here, and Podfather James over there in the corner there.
I see a shirt coming up.
Yeah, the founder of the feast.
Podfather, I like that.
With Go Talk Texas. So Podfather, I think, might be taken, but we could just have Rocky fight for it, and we'll do the.
I got my money on Rocky.
We'll do the old snatch. I'll fight you for it.
Yeah.
So this is our maiden voyage here. I'm Ralph Gouveia, Manvswld, Manvswld. We'll let the legal team figure it out. In partnership with Go Talk Texas, and we're going to be talking to a number of guests over a number of different topics. And today might be a little heavy, but we expect God to also be light. Mm-hmm. You know, He's the reliever of burdens for those of us that carry things that we ought not to. And so hopefully there'll be some good stuff there. But yeah, this is our first installment with Go Talk Texas. So super excited here today. Today's topic, we're going to be actually talking about suicide. And it's not coffee and, pan dulce conversation usually. That's going to be a very light discussion. Happens to be the second leading cause of death for young people from the ages of 15 to 24 in a recent UCLA study. Number one being accidental deaths, things like opioids and car accidents and stuff like that. And our good friend Rocky here, I don't know if we want to classify it as a NDE, a near-death experience, but he committed suicide. How long ago was it now?
It was a little over a year and a couple months.
Okay, a little over a year ago. And we're grateful that he's willing to share his experience because, as the Apostle Paul said, I'll take pleasure in infirmities and reproaches and needs and persecutions and distresses for Christ's sake, for when I'm weak, then I'm strong. The reality is that nobody finds strength unless we all come to terms with the things that ail us. Mm-hmm. You know? And David taught us that giants only die when we don't run from them anymore. So grateful that you're willing to be here today and share your story. And, this is something that's really important because we don't really know who's at risk. Maybe all of us.
And you never know. It could be next year.
Most people, even in the little bit of research that I did, leading up to today, and I'm grateful that James, thought of me to have this conversation with you guys. Most people never see it coming. Everybody smiles, everybody smiles.
Yes.
Everybody
Yes.
Participates in life. They go to work, they go to school. You don't know, for all intents and purposes, they seem happy, fulfilled, and all of a sudden they're gone.
Mm-hmm. Top of the class.
Class
favorite, class clown.
We see, we see that even with our celebrities. I mean, some of my favorite music artists.
Robin Williams.
I'm a metalhead, and you see these people at what would be the zenith and pinnacle of life and success, and all of a sudden they're gone. So obviously there's something to be said about that. But Rocky, how did we get here?
Here now or like here then?
Yes.
Here then.
Then. Here then.
Here then.
Here then. Here then. I like
Here
it.
then. Awesome.
Well, just give me a rough of your upbringing, man. I mean, just you obviously got a cool mom.
So my upbringing wasn't exactly like terrible, but as far as, most kids in my generation, it's probably not to par with what we would want.
Sure.
My mom has been great my entire life. My dad is an alcoholic, and we're working on that right now. And I won't get too much into what it's like right now, but growing up, it definitely brought its own challenges. And, I remember waking up to my dad just, like, sitting on the couch, drinking at, like, 2 a.m. He has work the next day, that kind of thing. And, it wasn't exactly the household that I think we wanted it to be.
Sure.
My mom
Masked it.
is with here. She did her absolute best, and she still does her absolute best, and I'm so thankful for her. But she can only do so much, and man, I gotta say, those first 10, 12 years up to 13 years old was rough. Like, right now, I would, like, economically and sociologically, I'd put us at, like, lower middle class. Up until I was maybe 12, getting into, middle school, we were, like, maybe middle, lower class, upper, lower class. We
lived in a trailer.
We were not well off. Like, okay, I don't like telling this story too much because it's kind of gross. But the bathroom situation.
It's life.
It was, so we didn't have a toilet at all. Like,
we had a toilet.
We had a toilet, but we didn't have a working toilet.
Got it.
So we would have to use our shower. And if we had to go number 2, we would just get a little plastic bag or some paper towels, put it in a plastic bag, and just throw it out like a dog. Growing up, I kind of just wanted to be like the other kids, because I went to school over at Negley, like a couple miles away from here.
Okay.
And all my friends were living in Plum Creek or over here, and it wasn't too great to have my friends telling me, oh yeah, my dad's pretty cool. I'm like, yeah, my dad's sweet.
Yeah.
But my upbringing was less than what I would have liked it to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think even as parents, some of us,
There's generational curses that have been broken and that are being broken.
Yeah.
And coming from nothing, even as a parent, as where we were.
Same.
And now, like, that was the beginning, because of course we had children when we probably should not have had children, and we weren't economically ready for that or financially ready for that. And the struggles that we did go through just makes what's happening now even better, because now we're in a house. We have a driveway. There's a sidewalk. We have 2 bathrooms. We have 3 bedrooms. Yeah.
We have a dog.
We have a dog.
I had a dog when I was little.
We have a dog.
But realistically, we should not have had a dog. Like, it was not a great place for a dog to live. But we have a dog now, which is really cool for me.
Well, it's funny because so I've been in ministry and I've helped people with, my family was homeless at one point, and I had addiction running through, our family and stuff like that. And yeah, definitely a lot of moments less than ideal. But dude, you seem pretty well-rounded, well-spoken. Good on mom. Good on you.
We talk about it.
All things considered. Yeah.
We talk about
That's a big part of it.
We talk about the struggles that I have, and then we talk about the struggles that his dad have, and we talk about it and how we're going to work together to make it better. And when they're younger and we're younger as a parent, when you're first becoming a parent, we don't want anybody to know those things.
Sure.
We keep that door shut, the curtains closed. Yeah. We don't want anybody to know that we're struggling.
Yeah.
And our eyes are open a little bit more now, and people need to talk about it.
Yeah, it's whatever, I'm 25 years sober now. I OD'd at like 15, 16, something like that. Went through the group homes. We were homeless at the time, lost our house through foreclosure. My dad's alcoholic, growing up, Vietnam vet, stuff like that. And I have a 16-year-old, just turned 16 today. I have hid nothing from him. Now I've spared some details, but this is an open book test.
Yeah.
Is kind of how, we approach things. Like, I'm not going to hide anything from you. Yeah. Open book test. You're sitting next to me. I'm going to let you look on my paper, and you're going to see all the things I got wrong. You have complete access, full access to it. I won't go into any of the gory details with some things because it just doesn't serve the purpose. But at the very least, my kid knows.
Yeah.
It's a big world out there. It's ugly sometimes.
Marriage is ugly.
Marriage is hard.
I mean, just
sometimes.
little
all of it,
things.
All of it. Like, but I've seen God redeem every single thing. I mean, the life I have with my kids right now, the 15, 16-year-old me, like, no, like if I showed up on, like if I showed up on my doorstep that talk, hey, is your daughter home? I would kill this kid. And like, no doubt about it.
I'm definitely like, I was just thinking about this the other day. If I as, like 6 or 7-year-old Rocky looked at a 17-year-old Rocky, he'd be like, what?
Yeah.
You were instructing at a martial arts studio? Yeah. You have a girlfriend? That's sick. You're living in a house now, like an actual house?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Like, you have a dog? That's sorry, I keep going over the dog, but that's a really cool thing for me.
I know. Well,
I kept saying no.
Maybe after you'll meet my dogs, it sounded like they were trying to kill you guys earlier when you came up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
a little bit intimidating.
But it sounds like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of people who live through hard things that make it through. Some of them even without God, and I don't even understand now. I believe God's present in their life. They just don't know Him.
Somebody's praying for them.
Correct. Somebody's praying for them. God is, actively in their active working in their lives without them knowing it. So people survive some of the most horrendous terrain and navigate some of the hardest things. And some are okay, and then others are not, for sure. They just repeat the cycle, right?
Yes.
Like, in terms of generational curses, like I was a trash can as a teenager, and my parents had their issues too. And pretty easy for me to follow suit. Yeah. But leading to you taking your own life, like, it sounds, I don't know, just one of those things about growing up hard is no other way.
Yeah.
So you grow up, right? And you, like I said, I'm just my observance. We've only had a very small handful of conversations before this because I really wanted this to come out here. Yeah. Right. So there's a lot of things I'm going to hear today that I haven't heard yet. But you seem pretty well adjusted, brother. Yeah. Where were we when that happened?
I gotta say, I grew up a lot in the last year and a half since it. Where I was, just so that we have a timeline for everyone, I attempted suicide in April, May of 2022. So leading up to that, it was about, I'll just backtrack from that. So we'll start with February. February was, Valentine's Day. I had recently just gotten out of a not great relationship looking back on it. It wasn't anything too serious, but it was still not a great relationship.
It was serious. It was serious.
But
a mother knows.
Yeah.
But so I was a little desperate for just that companionship that I thought I needed. Yeah. So I was just going from girl to girl. I never really did anything physical with girls. But I'm a teenager.
Sure.
So
understood.
I won't talk about this too much in front of my mother. Yeah. So I was going through that. Before that, I had a lot of troubles with school. I'm not in particularly a special needs kid when it comes. I'm ADD, but I'm not
yeah. You're high functioning.
Yeah.
You're not, yeah.
I'm not
it's not debilitating for you.
There's no learning deficiencies for me. I just don't like school.
Sure.
And if anything, I'm good at school.
Yeah.
I graduated a year early.
Nice.
I for the most part of my school career, I was a great student. I mean,
he was gifted and talented, and he was advanced, which also led to a lot of schoolwork at this time, extra schoolwork.
So leading up to this, just so I'm following, had a girlfriend, more serious, according to your mom, than you're willing to admit, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. And a lot of pressure. With the workload and everything at school. Okay. And
other than that, I was just, I was 16, feeling a lot of emotions. Obviously my home life wasn't amazing. It was, at that time, not nearly as bad as it had ever been. Like,
sure.
It was in...
We were good.
Yeah, in, comparison, it was pretty good.
We were good.
Still below the average bar, but, we were still doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I think the main thing that was just not there, I was talking with we just did a testimonial video for our church about this exact subject, and I was talking about this exact time frame too. God was not with, I was not with God.
Yeah.
And he, obviously God is always with me, but I was not with God. I wasn't actively trying to defy him. I wasn't.
You were actively trying to push him away.
Well, I wasn't doing necessarily bad things, I should say. I wasn't doing drugs, drinking.
You were skipping school.
I was skipping school, but
You changed your clothing.
That's true.
You changed your music.
That's true.
You changed your hair.
Well, it's cool.
Christine Kane referenced a verse in Hebrews saying that let us having the anchor. I forget what it is. You can edit this out later if you want. Anyways, she says something to the effect that all you have to do to drift is nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But sometimes it's not even some big breakaway from God.
Yes.
This open rebellion, but there's a quiet rebellion that happens too, where it's just I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna seek you. I'm not gonna acknowledge you.
I was definitely going through the motion,
and that's enough.
Hitting on that,
Yeah.
I kind of knew something was going on, and at this time there was counseling still. There was already medication. There was psychiatry. There was therapy going on. But prior to this, because of, I noticed something.
Yeah.
But we would go to church, and he would physically get ill, and he would have to leave. And there was a couple of times where we left early, in the middle of church, because he was like, Mom, my arm is killing me, Mom. I just don't feel good. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. There was just these active things, but he still went, and there was still going, like you said, just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Were we at Radical?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would have been pretty active in the church at that time, as far as
you going to youth group, you serving.
Well, that was another thing.
Youth group wasn't necessary. So
youth group can be hard.
Youth group, at least for me, was hard because the kids were kids, and it was mostly middle schoolers.
Yeah.
And I was,
you're in high school, yeah,
becoming a senior, getting ready to graduate pretty soon. So it was a little tough, and then obviously I was not in the particular mindset of, I want to do more God. I want to do more church.
Sure.
So I was just, but as far as Sundays, I was all in. I was almost every single Sunday I was serving. I help out with the audiovisual at our church, and I was almost there every single Sunday. But I was still just going through the motions. If anything, I was using it as an excuse not to actually be active in church.
Yeah.
To not to be present in church, to not listen in church.
So you were there.
I was there, but I wasn't there.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's a big thing for you to know now, as far as leading up to that moment, because that was going to be one of my questions.
Yeah.
It's where was God
Yeah.
at this moment?
Yeah.
And obviously he was faithfully there, but you
I was
yourself
not accepting him.
you were not in cahoots with him. So give me more. Where did that
So
lead us?
we'll go a little more forward in time. So as far as like March and then like early April goes, I don't remember a lot of like early April at all.
And and part of that is because of what happened,
Yeah,
right? Like some of your
yes.
short-term memory
Yes.
was affected.
But from what I do remember, I was in my mind feeling better, but not like being better. You know, I'm sure you noticed, so sophomore year, this was my sophomore year in high school. I decided I was going to be as edgy as possible to just, I don't know why.
Complete makeover.
I was wearing a handcuff as a bracelet, which honestly, looking back on it, is pretty metal. Like, it's kind of cool, but at the same time, like, as a sophomore in
wasn't
high school,
Rocky.
but it wasn't me.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
where I noticed
Okay, so he
things.
started exploring some things in terms of
Which I was
his
cool
style.
Yeah.
We dyed his hair blue at one
Dyed-
point.
okay.
I that was stupid.
Did you wear spikes?
No, but I have a spike bracelet now, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was just not me. And then like I think March of 2022, I kind of just stopped all of that kind of thing, and it wasn't because I was better. It wasn't because I was like, okay, I'm turning over a new leaf. It was because I give up.
He totally disconnected.
It was I'm not trying anymore. A lot of the times, so I have a lot of people in my life that have attempted suicide, that have self-harmed, that kind of thing. And almost every single person has, I don't want to say confessed, but like told me, and then like we've shared the experience of that moment before you attempt, or that moment before you're really getting close to attempting.
Sure.
Is when you seem the most normal. It's when you seem like, oh, everything's fine now. It's when, you know, I was dressing normally. I was doing better in school. I actually started going to school more often.
Hanging out with friends.
I was hanging out with my friends, all that kind of thing. But I wasn't feeling great. Like I wasn't. I might have, from the outside, been like, oh, this is completely normal. This is Rocky now. If Rocky's doing good, but Rocky was not doing good. Yeah.
So was it something that you planned? Like, was it...
The attempt?
Yes.
So...
Or did it just kind of like...
As far as I know, it was not. Like, at least the way that it went down.
So, and the other thing is, we're talking about attempt. We only say attempt because you're still here.
Yes.
well,
Okay?
and
But in fact,
it was
you did,
successful.
Yes.
You actually...
I died.
You died.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I just wanted to make that clear for anybody listening.
Yes.
You know, this is the subject matter ultimately, is that you successfully committed suicide.
Yes.
Yes.
And the only reason why I ask is if there was any like real premeditation.
And there-
I don't know, just to go off on a band rant, but you know the band Flyleaf? Or you ever heard of them?
Vaguely.
Okay. Bigger band in the early 2000s, but the singer Lacey Sturm had decided she was going to kill herself. And her grandmother like drug her to church or something like that. She didn't want to go.
I remember this.
And this old man in the church walked up to her and said, you know, whatever you're planning to do tonight, don't do it.
And I remember that night. And I remember feeling extremely exhausted from the day. And I remember my eyes being closed, and I think I fell asleep in the chair. And he came and he sat next to me, and I said, Rocky, I could hear you breathing. And later on, we found out he had pneumonia after on top of everything.
So even leading up to you actually doing that, you were sick.
He was physically
very
sick.
Okay, so there's a
And
lot of stuff at play here.
I didn't know it.
Yeah. And then,
Wow.
well, also, I think it was February or March, we thought I had COVID. Remember
Yeah, that was running rampant.
That short period.
Yeah.
So, like, for, like, I think it was almost a whole week, like 5 or 6 days. I was just locked in my room because I didn't want to get anyone sick.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on with me, but
it was not premeditated. Yeah. This was something that was very much spontaneous, which after talking with therapists and a bunch of people, the word impulsive comes to play.
So, but one of the other things I did notice is that the pandemic totally exacerbated this type of activity.
Yes.
Our whole household was wrecked.
Everybody was affected in so many different ways, but even like suicides and things like that obviously were higher because people were shut in ways that
and Rocky's an extrovert.
Yeah.
No one. Yeah. No. I hear you.
I'm extremely extroverted.
So it wasn't planned, but it sounds like there was a lot of things at play. Okay, so if you're sick, you're already in a not going to be in a good state of mind to begin with, and then you already had coming out of some. It sounds like some depression.
Yes.
And then just you decided one night that's
so. I don't want to say I decided one night because beforehand I was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. Like it was this is the way out. And when I say it wasn't premeditated, I mean I wasn't going to say, oh, I'm doing it this way or I'm going to do this way. It was I'm just doing it eventually. It wasn't.
So you had that in your heart already. Like,
yeah, it was like this is happening.
I want to end this.
Yes, it was not like planned. Like I wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do this. It was just this is happening. Eventually, it's gonna happen, and I didn't have like a time period or anything. I just
once I got a hold of the phone after we figured out how to get into it. Like he's laid out. We don't know what's going to happen yet, but he had to look. He looked up that night what to do. Mm-hmm. So we know for sure that it was just completely impulsive that moment in time that he didn't have a plan, and with what happened in his space that it happened, it was a fly. Like just this is going to happen right now.
Yeah.
So, who found you?
So, my sister was the one that threw up the red flag to my mom. And
she heard something very loud,
yes.
And she said that his door was locked, and he never locks his door.
And so, technically, my sister never didn't, or I.
She never saw.
She probably
no.
She never seen. Okay, this might be a better question for my mom because I was just out of it.
Yeah, of course.
If you want to take it.
Like I said, I was exhausted that night. I really don't know why, but I went to sleep early. So I think I fell asleep in the chair at 7 and got up around 8:30 and finally went to bed after everybody's like, okay, we're going to bed. I get woken up, I think it's like 9:30, and Bobby's like, I heard something. Something's not right, Mom.
Who's Bobby?
That's Bobby Lynn's, his sister. And they're 16 months apart, so they're like connected.
Yeah.
And she's like, I heard something really loud, and I thought it was a cat. Can't find a cat. She's like, and Rocky's door is locked, and he never locks his door, Mom. He never. And I'm like, trying to wake up. Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, and I get out of bed. I go and I'm like, it's locked. And I'm like, okay, how am I gonna get in here? First thing that popped in mind was a drill. And I saw it on the back porch. I had a little visual of the drill on the back porch. Run outside, get the drill that handle off. Open it up, and I don't see him. Small room. You see everything. And I noticed the closet lights on. And I immediately pushed her away and was like, go wake up your dad. And that's when I saw Rocky. And I immediately just started shaking and was like, into what needed to be good next.
Yep.
And do you mind me sharing what you did?
Yeah, if you guys don't want to share details,
I'm
that's
okay
fine.
with it. As long as it's like good for the podcast. Like
No. I mean, if you're comfortable with it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He hung himself, and the hardest part for me is that he's a big guy.
Yeah.
So the next step was, how do I get him down? And his sister brought me scissors, got him down, and immediately started CPR. Didn't find a pulse. You can tell he'd been there for a while. And that's very relevant for the part of God being there.
Sure.
And looking back, because everything was in very much slow motion, but we're thinking it was 15 to 20 minutes that it took me to get into the room, get him down, and start chest compressions, because immediately I knew.
Yeah.
But after that, it was few minutes, 8 minutes before paramedics were there. And my husband brought his phone in because he immediately called, and he laid it down, and he was very upset, very upset. And immediately went into, I work in a preschool, so I've got the CPR, call 911, adult CPR in progress, 16-year-old, 250 pounds, chest compressions, no pulse. I immediately went into that. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting a little cold thinking about it, just because I should have been a wreck.
Yeah,
but God,
yeah,
he told me what to do.
Yeah.
And just immediately went into that.
You're uniquely qualified for that moment too. So
yeah. And it was just amazing how fast help got there. And the teams. Usually, paramedics show up and a policeman show up. No, there was teams of people that showed up, and we are literally 3 minutes away from the station, which now is not there because they're rebuilding it. So God, again, God.
Yeah.
And they had to bring him into the living room because his room is small, and they needed to do work. And I immediately threw on some clothes because we were in our pajamas.
Sure.
And I got my purse out. I knew exactly what needed to be done. And we had just been to the doctor prior to that. So I had his medicines in a bag, and everything was ready. Everything had been prepared. I don't know a better word. But I was talking to the lead paramedic, and he was asking me a bunch of questions. And I remember looking down, and he's like, I got a faint pulse. And that's when I was like, all right, here we go. And they're like, okay, we're loading him up. We're going to take him in. We're going to Seton and Kyle. Immediately got on the phone. I couldn't talk yet. So I messaged a gentleman, Pastor Sterling. He is a part of our old church at Vertical, and he just has done amazing things with us and our family. And messaged him right away. I need everybody to start praying. And then I called our current pastor, which Rocky had already made a good friendship with. And I was like, hey, Pastor Trevor. I think I actually left a voicemail for him. I can't remember, but I was like, I'm headed there now. And by the time I got to the hospital, he had already called or texted and said, are you okay? What's going on? I'm like, I'm okay. We're just figuring out what's going to happen next. But I just knew that's what needed to be done. I needed people to start praying.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. I'm sure you've probably been asked this, but I mean, you came to, when did he come to after?
Let's see. Tuesday.
I don't know why I was there. I have no idea.
Maybe about 4.5, 5 days. They had a process, which they explained to me very lengthily from the first day on. We're going to give him the best chance, but don't expect and don't have hope. And I was like, oh, you don't know my God, immediately.
Yeah. Some in the medical profession, God bless them for what they do. I believe they work in concert with God, whether they acknowledge him or not. They're on the same team. Right. God is a healer. One of his redemptive names is Jehovah Rapha, the Lord our healer. So that's characteristic. That's his nature. It's who he is, what he does. But some in the medical field don't acknowledge him as being the great physician. So they have that bedside manner that's just like, well, we're going to do what we can, but
very pessimistic.
I got to golf later, and So we'll see how it goes. You know. So, but yeah, it sounds like you had. I spoke with you a little bit last week, leading up to this, and you definitely had your Shunammite woman moment from 2 Kings chapter 4, where she has this child and the child dies, and everyone's like, "Hey, what's going on?" It is well. Every time someone asked her, "It is well."
It's just one of those things where it's like. right up to this, having Rocky and my daughter, they both have problems with anxiety and depression. I just leaned on God, right? Even before this started happening, I started leaning on God because I was like, I can't do this alone. I can't do this. And some days I would just like, the shower, cry because it's a lot of pressure even on being a parent.
Sure.
And are they going to be okay? So when this happened, I was like, God, you're preparing me. You're preparing me for this. I trust you faithfully. We knew of another family that we literally saw a miracle happen, and cancer was cured in their daughter. And we got to see that with our own eyes. And I just remember, that first moment being in the hospital and just going, I know I've seen your miracles. I've seen your miracles, and I know you're God of miracles. But I also know that Rocky belongs to you. And I know that you will do what is necessary for Rocky and not what I want. And I remember just feeling that and just knowing that I'm giving this up to God. That was the first time I've ever really given something to God and said, yes, my human nature, I'm worrying, I'm crying, I'm scared.
Yeah, having kids puts that in a whole different perspective, right?
It does.
It's one thing if I trust God with an unknown future or something like that, but when you have potential and you have what you want to be the best of you, to send them out there and let them live. And eventually, the whole idea of arrows used as a picture of, your children, as arrows in a quiver in the hands of a warrior. Thing about arrows is they get shot. They get shot out. You can set them on an aim and everything, and there's all kinds of other variables involved. There's wind. There's all kinds of other things that are going to participate in this act. Yes. And you just don't know. But good on you. Good on you. So about 5 days or so came to.
And they said that he wasn't going to. And the nurses came in that night that they were going to stop everything and just wake him up to see if that was going to happen. And I already knew.
So you're like intubated, and they have you like in a coma, or
medically induced coma, cool the body down to around 80 degrees to make, or something like that, and to make sure that the heart and the lungs, because that's when they found out a lung had collapsed due to pneumonia. So he was really sick. So not only is they're trying to get him to breathe, but these machines are trying to suction out everything that was in his lungs prior to even being there, and he looked horrible. I mean, it looked horrible. Like it looked horrible.
You're just talking about like the overall circumstance.
Just the overall.
It's bleak. This does not look hopeful at all. He was
purple because he's cold.
Like, I physically looked horrible.
Yeah.
He was, purple. He had his face was all bloodshot due to trauma, and they cool them, then they slowly warm them back up after a period of time. And once they hit that temperature, which it took a lot longer, there was some things that kind of happened in between. All the nurses come in, and I didn't know what was going on because they were just like, they looked so sad. And I'm just like looking at them like, why are y'all so sad? This is the moment I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
And everybody's praying. And one nurse, I remember holding my hand, and she sat down on the couch with me, and I'm like, I want to be over there by the bed where I can see. And they said, Rocky, open your eyes. And Rocky, open your eyes. And he opened his eyes, and he looked the direction of the voice, and they were just elated. And it was like a fishbowl because there's glass everywhere, and there's nurses from the whole floor, and they're just celebrating, like cheering and crying. And they're like, Mom, come up here. And so I go to the other side, and then they're like, I was like, Rocky. And turned his head, and he looked at me again and responded to pain, because that's the first thing he wanted to know, because they didn't know because of the situation of the suicide. They didn't know, and everything was working. And I was like, see, my God is good. Like, I was just like, see what can happen. See this miracle.
Did you say you had some believers that were nurses too that were caring for him?
Yes, they were putting their hands on him and praying over him, because at that time, we didn't know what was going to happen, so we didn't want his friends to see him again because he looked horrible. I didn't want other kids to see what he looked like, and I wanted to respect his privacy because deep down in my heart, I knew he was going to wake up. So the only people that actually had come in to see him, Pastor Sterling, Pastor Trevor, Rachel, who was another part of our youth group, and physically hands praying. And then the nurses that were around us, I'm pretty open about my faith.
Sure.
So they knew they could talk to me about stuff, and they would come and just sit or catch me in the hallway. We're praying for Rocky. I just want you to know we're praying, two doors down, there's a 15-year-old passing away. He's not going to make it. And it was a car accident. And so it's like being that close to another set of parents who are just devastated because they know for sure that he wasn't coming back. And they just needed that positivity. And God showed up big time. He showed up for those nurses, and he showed up for the doctor who didn't believe. I didn't tell you about this part. So they made us leave for a little while because they do some things like they don't want us in there because COVID again.
Sure.
They're going to do like a port or something. And I left, and then I was coming back around, and I heard him talking on the phone. So I just kind of like waited. I didn't want to go past him. I kind of wanted to just kind of stay away from him, his energy. But he was on the phone, and it was after he woke up. He was telling another doctor, "You're not going to believe this." He woke up, and he feels all his motor functions are fine. He's moving his head, he's moving his arms, he's wiggling his fingers, he wiggled his toes. They're getting him to do like, kind of like things like this, and he's like, "You're just not going to believe this. It's astonishing." But he did not use that word miracle.
Yeah.
But he was already witnessing to somebody else. And he didn't even know.
Interesting. I don't know if anybody asked you any of this, but do you have any experiences from being out?
So I don't remember any direct experiences.
Okay.
I remember. So I'm a firm believer of like energies. Like should I come into a room and there's a very angry person.
You have a spiritual discernment.
Yes. Yes. I can discern what is happening, and I can discern who is with me.
Sure.
And I woke up automatically. I asked for one of my grandmothers that had passed, right? Is that correct? Or was I asking for Nana? I woke up asking for my great-grandmother. She had passed.
Yeah, Grandma Rosie.
A long time ago. Like, I was very, very little. And I vaguely, very vaguely, I've just closing my eyes, I remember being with my grandpa who passed the day after my sister was born. So I was maybe a little over a year old. And I don't remember talking to them. I remember talking to them. I don't remember anything said. I just remember I had a experience with those very strong members of my family.
Interesting.
And it's very crazy because for the most part, I at that time didn't believe in
an afterlife
at all.
Okay.
Like, really. I didn't consider myself an atheist. I considered myself more agnostic than anything.
Okay.
I believed,
just don't know.
I believed there was a higher power, but I was just like, I refused to believe that anyone could say who was right. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like now that everything happened, I don't think I can say that I'm wrong about what I believe now.
Yeah.
Like there is no other possibility of a higher power.
Yeah.
Like, but to answer your question, yes, I did have a couple of,
Yeah, some people come back and they have these long experiences. They remember things very vividly. Others don't. You just never, and I don't think that that's really that doesn't relate to anything. There's a book, gosh, what's his name? He pastored Gateway here in Austin. He wrote a book called Imagine Heaven. I went through a few chapters in that. You know that book? Yeah, it's an interesting book because it's about believers that died, and actually one of them was a pilot who was actually an atheist and went to hell, and no bueno.
Well, and that was part of it. Like when he was out, I had this massive dream of I was running through the jungle, almost like you have a GoPro on you, and you can't see your whole body. You're just running, and the movement made me nauseous. And at that point, the medication, I mean, he was still out, was making him sick, and he would have bouts of, vomiting. And I'm like, I'm wondering if he's trying. Like, he's trying. And, like, this dream was just so vivid, and it made me sick that one of the nurses was like, well, I have some medicine in my bag if you want to take it. I was like, please. Like, my head was pounding. And after that, before that, it was fine. I was taking a nap. But I was like, I feel like Rocky's trying to find his way back. And it was just a very interesting dream for a daytime thing. Yeah. Like, to be a nap and wake up from that. And when he did wake up, he did talk about playing the guitar and having to
play. I play guitar. Yes.
Okay.
Defeating.
Great, but that was that was going to be my next question. Are you any good?
Defeating the bulls. I think that's what.
Yeah. So, are you familiar with the movie The Book of Life?
The cartoon? What? Yeah. I know it. I don't think I saw it though.
So
my kids saw it.
You've seen Coco?
I've slept through most every. So that's nap time for me. So when I go to the movies with my kids,
my dad,
I will go. It's like, yeah, you want to go see a movie? Great.
It's like I'm like $40 nap.
I'm gonna get a good 45 minutes at least. I'm gonna eat popcorn and Reese's Pieces, and
exactly.
But you've seen Coco. The movie.
I know of it. I have not seen it.
But you get the
but I know. Yeah, isn't it? Was like a Day of the Dead?
Yes. So the whole like Mexican afterlife was what I woke up remembering.
And speaking in Spanish.
Do you speak Spanish?
I do not speak Spanish.
I do not speak Spanish.
I can say no habla español.
I'm a bad Mexican.
Me too.
Same.
I can get us in and out of a taqueria without getting stabbed, but that's about it.
I could probably make someone mad on accident with the way I speak, easy. But I woke up and I was asking for Mama Coco, who is a primary character
in the Coco movie.
In the Coco movie,
which my mom actually kind of looks like the hair.
She looks a little bit like that.
So.
Okay.
But like, I don't know. I was singing.
How good were you speaking Spanish though? When
it was good because the
was it like presidential Spanish or was it like I can get through the neighborhood Spanish?
Well. It was hard because his breathing still wasn't great. So his words would come in out. He'd be like talking and then, but it sounded great. And I was like,
I'm not a believer in like demonic possession for believers. Some deliverance ministries that happen out there, like, we're going to do it. Like, honestly, Paul didn't even do that. He would go to a city, he'd preach the word of God, people would get saved. And as a result of that, sometimes demons would manifest and he'd cast something out. And that would be the spark of a revival, right? But I do believe that for those of us, the Holy Spirit's not going to, look, if the Holy Spirit's living in you, he doesn't take roommates.
Yes.
Okay. So
we've actually had these conversations
So
before.
He does not take roommates.
Yeah.
But I do believe that believers can be oppressed by demonic forces. So listening to you say, everything that kind of led up and precipitated you taking your own life, sounds like you were absolutely oppressed. Like there was some serious oppression.
Yeah.
And I think that those things, and again, very different than possession. Possession, that means that there's control. They run the show. Like I can look back when I was a drug addict, I absolutely was possessed. That was never a question as to whether or not I really wasn't even a believer at that point. I was just a toy for the devil, in other words. But it sounds like you went through a big deal, a great deal of oppression.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And he would just, it was a struggle. Like I could see the difference between good and evil really trying. The more good he did, that more evil would try to do something to curb it.
Sure.
It was wild.
Also, just in general around here, it was a very hostile environment. Like not just my household. Like my household was actually doing pretty well. But like just the Butte, Central Austin area. So a young man at my school took his life literally the Wednesday.
That week was a
3 people
rough week.
That not including me, that took their lives.
In that 4 days of us being in the hospital, my phone rang and another senior had taken his life. A friend of mine who we went to the same high school, and this is all in the same high school, took her life. Another person down the road who the nurse let me know, a male nurse was telling me, it was high school down the road, there's had 2 girls that tried to take their life as well. And it was all in this 1 week.
It was
unbelievable.
I think there was a very large spiritual attack on the youth of that area in that particular time. And I think especially with how everything was getting handled with the COVID and pandemic, and everyone was just
a lot of it got to like a fever pitch.
Yes.
I think people were just kind of done with it,
being told what to do and how to do it.
And this was like downhill of the pandemic. Like 2020
was on the
2020 was the height, and then this was like we're going back to normal.
And considering, I mean, we're in Texas too. Compared, I'm from California. I escaped 8 years ago. No hate or love lost to all my California friends out there, but I like freedom. And James, if you wouldn't mind throwing in a screech from a bald eagle right after I say that, we can.
I can make that happen.
We can make that happen in editing. But it's crazy because I'm charismatic. Okay, I believe, I speak in tongues, and I believe. Let's get in for the prophetic and all that stuff. Look, if I trip on the sidewalk going into HEB, I don't curse the devil and start, the devil, possess the sidewalk to try to take me out.
Step on a crack.
And I don't like, lie in wait for 5 hours and pray in tongues about whether or not I should have Cocoa Puffs or Lucky Charms. Yeah, correct. I just don't think that it works that way. But, not everything's a spirit. Like I'm going to pray against the spirit of suicide. I don't know if there is a spirit of suicide. I think perhaps there is. Maybe there is. Maybe there isn't. But one of the things that we have to discern is sometimes there's just mental health breakdowns too. Like not everything is an infirmity. Yes. Not everything is an infirmity, but not everything is possession either.
Yes.
Like when you see Jesus, perform certain healings in the Gospels, sometimes it was a spirit. He would address, but he would address it as so. Other times people were just out and away from God, and they found themselves in a condition that was tied to a sin nature. So I mean, sometimes people are legitimately depressed.
Yes.
Sometimes people legitimately have chemical imbalances that cause them to make bad decisions, impulsive decisions, things that aren't well thought out or prayed out or anything. It's because they're chemically off.
Yes.
There are other people, however, who are absolutely oppressed and ruled by the enemy.
Yes.
And they get taken out just because of that.
Yes.
And it takes a discernment to know the difference. Sometimes look, it's always going to be prayer. Okay, prayer is always going to be the thing you do, always.
Yes.
But
even physical prayer.
Sometimes people need medicine.
Yes.
So it's an interesting line to navigate through, because you really have to depend on the Holy Spirit to tell you when someone needs to be delivered.
That gift of discernment. Yeah.
Correct. But so tell me about today.
Today, I woke up, took a shower.
Your mom woke you up and
yeah.
took a shower.
Well, I woke up on my own. You just got me out of bed.
Sounds like we got some rain out there.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Nice.
Wild.
Nice.
So today, it's probably I don't knock on wood. I don't want to say that this is like the best I've been ever, but like this is I'm
You're in a good spot.
I'm in a good spot, definitely. I graduated high school, which is awesome. I hate school, so
That was a tough battle.
Yeah.
And
So-
I will
so
pray
did
for
you-
all of you parents.
Did you guys just accelerate the studies
So
and
I
everything?
went to
Or-
Live Oak Academy over right by Hayes.
Okay.
And they have it's more of a self-paced
Okay.
But I tell you what, those teachers there, they didn't just get put in that school. They chose that
Yeah.
school, and they chose that school because of kids like Rocky,
Yeah.
who are trying their best,
Yeah.
and they're finding different
They're-
avenues for them to get what they need to get done.
Yeah, not
That's
everybody
cool.
learns the same, and that's one of the things that
Especially
people-
kids who are just like already, I don't want to be around other
yeah,
kids.
exactly.
I was, for lack of a better word, the king of that school. I was the president of that school, the student council. They didn't have a student council before I went there. But other than,
Sounds a little more dictatorial. Doesn't sound like you were elected.
well,
I was about to say, how many votes did you get?
Something, yeah. Were they?
They were
were
like, they
were
didn't want
bringing-
the job.
Were they bringing in? So let me see. Let me look at it this way. Were there like 200,000 kids or 2,000 kids in the school, and you got 5,000 votes? Is it one of those
so
things?
it was more of a, we don't have this. Why don't we have this?
And then, but you were the first.
Yes, I was the
Fantastic.
inaugural.
There you go. The inaugural
Yeah.
president of the school.
I don't know if they
Very
have
good.
it still, but I hope they do.
No impeachments.
No impeachments.
No impeachments.
I
You're not
stepped-
facing any charges.
I stepped down near the middle of the second semester just to focus more on my studies.
Okay.
And again, with
So wait a minute. You stepped down out of office.
Yes.
So did you have a VP to succeed you, or?
So he actually already he graduated second semester.
so they graduate as they finish.
it's a
Okay.
revolving door.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
okay.
a revolving door. Like you
So
finish all your
so it just kind of moves through. Got it. Okay.
You finish all your curriculum, you're out. We'll see you at graduation. After I was done, by then it was near the end of the school year. I graduated in May, May 1st, literally. So there wasn't really much for me to do as president of student council, and we didn't have too many school pep rallies or like activities. I tried making more. I did a Red Ribbon Week, that kind of thing. But it was cool. As far as how I'm doing today, I got a girlfriend. We've been dating almost 5 months now.
yeah, it's been a while.
Okay.
It's been great. She's awesome. She went to Live Oak with me.
Mm-hmm.
I've known her since freshman year, but we only started dating after we graduated.
You got a dog.
I got a dog. She's great. Cookie, the dog.
What kind of dog?
She's
Pomeranian.
we think she's a mix of Pomeranian and Corgi.
Yeah,
So
we're
she's
not sure.
cute.
Oh,
We
wow.
got her
She's
completely
cute.
free.
Don't let my wife see it.
She is so cute.
Adorable.
We have 3 dogs. She wants a corgi.
She is adorable.
I really do think that's part of her.
But she's awesome.
It gives him a reason to get up out of bed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to take her outside
Dogs
because
are
she's
great.
gonna bark until you get her.
Yeah.
And it's so much more fun whenever you come home and you have a dog that's excited to see you. Because you have a cat, they're like, "What's up?"
Yeah.
Or they
Yeah,
won't even
cat-
acknowledge
cat-
you.
cat-
There's a
as
bit of
well.
there's a bit of a role reversal with cats.
Yeah.
We serve them, they don't.
But with a dog, she gets she's peed herself because she's seen me. Like,
Yeah,
she gets so happy. But other than that, I started working at the Dojang, the martial arts studio
Sure.
that I go to, but it was a lot, so I stopped working there.
But you still attend.
I still attend. Yeah,
So-
I love,
so you
love
still-
the guys over there.
You still
The
train.
commitment's still
Yes.
there.
Good. Good.
And then I've recently started working at Chick-fil-A,
Okay. Nice.
serving the Lord's chicken.
Serving God's chicken.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah.
I love the leadership there. They're all great. We have so I didn't know this, but Chick-fil-A is a very tiered thing. It's not like a pyramid scheme, but it's like it's very complicated, and I did not know this.
It's like ants where you have the queen, but then everything like
sounds
starts falling
sounds a
down.
little like Scientology. So like, what level do you have to be to get?
So it's not even like that. I mean, like it's more.
Like Tom Cruise is like
There's like
top,
5 different
top
leaders.
gun, literally.
Yeah, like it's there's not like there's a top guy, but then it's more of like a birthday cake. Like you got the candle up here.
I like
you go down.
I like
then you got the cake, and then you got the first layer, the second layer, and the third layer. But most of them are pretty equal.
There will be Chick-fil-A in heaven.
Yes, I agree.
Heavenly sauce.
Yeah,
But
the sauce is different there for sure.
They are
It's better
just
sauce.
amazing. I was just telling them we are playing worship music out the drive-through window.
That's good.
Or drive-through door. We don't have a window. It's weird. It's like
Yeah, I've noticed that.
it's so.
Some of these do it a little different.
I'm not sure why. I think it's because we just have like every now and then we'll
You
get
guys
that like a lot of business.
Yeah,
and
the
we
volume
We
you
want to
guys
be able to
have.
like run down the drive-through so they can just leave.
Yeah.
But we'll be playing worship music out there. Everyone there is so nice. It's mandatory to say hello to everyone whenever you start a shift and say goodbye to everyone after you leave or once you leave.
Mm-hmm.
It's just great.
And saying my pleasure.
And saying my pleasure. Yeah. I've actually started saying my pleasure to like everyone on accident. Like we just stopped by the gas station today and I grabbed
And you said,
I grabbed
it's
the-
been my pleasure
No,
to
he goes-
patronize this fine establishment
But-
today.
What's
He goes,
even-
thank you, my friend, and I say, my pleasure. And I
But
was like,
what's the top part of it all there is like because he's been a part of a dojang and you have to bow as showing
Yeah.
respect. He bows to everybody.
So you have like the honor code
And you're just
all
like-
over you everywhere in your life.
So
That's
like,
funny.
it's very it's a very awkward position whenever you're talking to someone and you're going to shake their hand and I have to physically restrain myself from like
Bowing.
bowing while I shake their hand or like using two hands.
Yeah.
It's a very awkward thing, especially at least for Americans, because at the dojang I would get a lot of Korean, influence and a lot of Korean people coming in. So it was completely normal and it was actually expected to do those things. But once you're out of that atmosphere of that strict respect, it's very weird. I never noticed how like loose Americans are with their
Oh yeah, we are. We absolutely are. And you can usually figure us out in any foreign country.
Yeah.
We're the ones that look like dumbasses sometimes. So it's
Yeah.
good. And literally, I mean, like,
And sarcastic. We are very
Yeah.
sarcastic people.
oh yeah. But I think that's a national pastime. I think we
Yeah.
need to keep it. Probably doesn't serve the purposes of God all the time, but at least makes it amusing, you know.
Yeah.
All right. So you sound like you're in a pretty good spot.
I am.
All
And
right.
and full transparency.
Yeah.
Things go up and down, and we
all of life is going to be
modify
that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
what we need, and you just have to get with good people that are around you that are like, hey, I see that you're struggling today, or I see that this is a little different, and we'll jump in a car and go for a drive
Yeah.
and just talk.
We'll
hit a drive-through, eat snacks.
The transparency is probably the most important thing you can have when you are mentally, what's the word? That neurodivergent?
I call it neurospicy.
Neurospicy? I'm not sure. This is new to me.
It's a new fun word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Where
I
our
like it.
brains don't work the same, so our chemicals are a
it's
little
like
different.
special, but we don't want to call people special.
Sure.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But when you're like me, that transparency is very important with those people, whether it's your spouse,
Sure.
your parents, your siblings, your friends, whoever you have, just so that, because you can't expect everyone to know I'm not okay right now. You can't just walk into a room and just grab a cup of water and then walk back in there, and you can't expect them to be like, oh, Rocky's not doing good, I gotta go do everything for him. You gotta say, hey mom, not feeling great, can we go drive to McDonald's real quick?
You got to have a few people in your life.
Yeah.
You're not going to have this with everybody.
And
Yes.
your
And
caregivers
that-
need to have a caregiver.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a verse in Psalm 62:8. Trust in him at all times, you people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us.
Yes.
That verse has been a big one for me over the years. Prayer life looks like two people talking. It's not a monologue.
Yeah.
You know, I don't show up to Sky Daddy or Cosmic Santa and just say, hey, here's my list of
Yeah.
demands
Yeah.
and things that I want. Usually mine is in the cab of my truck after I drop my kids off.
Mine's in my shower after a shift at work. Yeah.
I shut the radio off because usually I'm listening to something that is just
not very
no. Yeah, well,
Sure.
But to me, even worship music, I feel sometimes misses
what exactly you want.
no, it's just certain realities. It's like God doesn't want us to like have a suck it up, put on a brave face,
or you have to be emotional.
I'm just gonna go through this. I mean, there's something that happens when we just come before Him without a prepared speech. You know, like the prodigal son. The dad didn't want to hear the speech. The son had a prepared speech. I'm going to go back and I'm going to be like, hey, this is what God doesn't care about any of that. All of that can go out the window to just meet Him and just say, I don't know how I'm going to do this right now. Like, I don't know how to. Yeah, just.
I can't. Can't do this.
Yeah,
right
and think about
here.
that in that verse as we read it. It says, you know, God is a refuge for us. A refuge is a safe place.
Yeah.
You know, at the very least, you know, we should have it there with Him. God is not aloof, afar.
Yeah.
You know, He's 100% all in on relationship with us, right? We should never question that. He bankrupted heaven so that you and I can know Him. He's holy. He's righteous. But man, for Him to bridge the gap that would have been impossible for us to know Him, and it's for relationship. It's for sons and daughters. It's not just servants and warriors and for us to go out and do. No. Even Jesus, when He chose His disciples in, I think it's in Mark, it says He chose those that He wanted to be with Him. It wasn't even just about all the things that I'm going to do.
Interview,
Correct. It's not a job interview.
It was, I want you to be my friend.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think we get really lost in that. I have a family member who I kind of shared my prayer life. Like, I don't know what you think I do. When I pray, there's no hiding place anymore. You know, all the gloves have to come off. Everything, the facades have to come off. All of that stuff has to come off. I think that's the only way we're really able to function in a manner that would reflect the fullness of God, like here in this life, right? Like you guys keep talking about, you guys openly talk. You have to have that. It can't be, you know, like my kids. Okay, yes, I am their father, but I'm also a brother in Christ.
Yes.
Like, I'm helping these kids find their way. There's that prayer that Solomon does in Kings. He goes from praying about building the temple and this is the way he put it, he says that David, my father, wanted to build a temple to the Lord, his God. Yes. But the language changes throughout that prayer, and he says, you know, but I have built the temple to the Lord, my God.
This has changed everything about how I speak to my God and how I have the utmost faith. And I say this not only because Rocky's here and he is fully capable and he's going to live a great life. Even if I know my God did whatever He needed to do for the best. And I wouldn't have questioned that. Like, that's really hard because, like, at that same moment that I was getting my miracle, a lot of people were getting really bad news.
We're not getting theirs, yeah.
And even in that moment, there's like a special waiting room for ICU. And then there was a couple of people there who got really bad news. And I just sat there and God was like, go pray with them. And I just, you know, gently went over and was just like, you know, I'm so sorry for your loss. Can I pray for you? And it was not only healing for them and just sharing a space with other people and feeling comfortable. It was so healing for me.
Sure.
Just to be able to help somebody else. Like, now that's how I feel. I feel like I need to share my story. And we've been talking this for a long time. Like, again, been over a year. Almost, we're getting a year and a half.
Almost, yeah.
I told Rocky whenever he was ready, we would talk about this. But I told him immediately that God had put on my heart that I need to talk to parents. I need to share what I know from a parent standpoint. I have to.
Yeah.
And I just waited for him.
And, I think one of the most important things that I can do having this experience is letting people know that these emotions are valid. Like, you might be feeling very depressed, and that's a completely normal thing. Like, coming from certain backgrounds, you might be feeling certain things. Like, it's just a human nature. I think the most important thing that I can do with my experience is to share it and to give not advice but my experience, like what I went through, not telling them, oh, this is what you should do, this is what I did, and don't do this. It's more of letting those other 16-year-old kids that have had crappy households or have had to go through things that they didn't want to go through, letting them know that there's other ways, there is God, there is other ways to get through. There's hope. That's something that's really been
it's hard. So I've had we've had a couple people take their lives, and these are people that I believe they're in heaven. I believe that they literally had a breakdown, emotionally, mentally, chemically, I think even, and decided to make a decision that, they couldn't take back, and to see the wake of, trauma that has come after, people still dealing with it today. But the one thing I think that can disempower the devil in the room is exposure. The fact that you're willing to talk, and that you openly, like my wife and I, I've been married now almost it's 19 years. It'll be 20 years this next year coming. And one of the things that we try to do is, there's no elephants in the room. If there's an elephant in the room, we drag it out in the middle and we shoot it, and we have plans for the husks. So that's what that means. You don't let anything like that live. They must die. They must be brought out into the open and exposed.
That's great.
Because that's the only way we're free.
Yeah.
Otherwise we're playing hide and seek with this thing, and
the devil wants you to play hide and seek.
100%.
So you feel shame and guilt.
He does everything in the dark, and that's where he gets by. But he doesn't get anywhere when the light's on. So super, super grateful that you guys are willing to come out and talk. And
absolutely.
And what about you today?
Oh man, I tell you what, my life completely changed. I mean 180.
Pretty much.
I was always a Christian. I've grown up in the church. I remember when I first felt the Holy Spirit at like 16 at a concert, probably Jars of Clay or something like that. Aging myself now, but
it's okay to date yourself. If you like yourself.
Oh, I love myself now. Except for this one, left knee. I could, eventually. But anyway, I am doing well. Not only do I see, like you were talking about, like the spiritual war, I can discern it now, and I can say, this is not this person. This is something else happening, and we need to pray on it and put our hands on it and, worship around it, so that this goes away. But also, that's not a great way to put it though. Again, so mental health is big in our house, and it's affecting our entire house. All three of my children, I have 3 kids. So Rocky's the oldest, 17. I have a daughter who's 16 and a little one that's 9. He is our ADHD kid. And so emotional regulation is a problem, and it can outspill into our entire house. My husband too, he has depression and anxiety as well. Yeah, so that's our household. That's what we live in. Yeah. Immediately I can start feeling this heaviness in the house. Like you feel a heaviness.
Sure.
And I start putting on either my go-to lately is Brandon Lake. Okay. Too Good to Not Believe was one of the songs that got me through a lot in the hospital. Mm-hmm. And
I forget what the exact song title is and who sings it. The Hell Lost Another One, I Am Free. We'll really like that one.
And it's just like hearing those things helps me come back to that moment where I remember feeling the Holy Spirit again. Like the first thing I thought about after all of this was just thank you, God. Mm. But thank you for all the people who are praying. Thank you, God, for reaching out to all these people who would send me messages that I am not a believer, but I'm praying for you. Mm. I'm not a believer, but I'm praying for your miracle. Or I'm not a believer. I usually don't ever talk about these things, but I see that there was a miracle that happened. 15 to 20 minutes, nobody comes back from 15 to 20 minutes. And if they do, they're not functioning.
Correct.
And that was around that time, a lot of that was happening. A lot of people not only were taking their lives, but there was a lot of bad accidents that were happening around us, and people weren't coming back normal. They're still going through physical therapy and things. It's exactly that time. And I just pray every day how thankful I am, and how every day is still a struggle. Mm-hmm. Like we still have struggles. Like I still get triggers, my human nature. Sure. Rocky's not answering his phone and he hasn't called me back in an hour. Who's the closest that's going to go to my house and see if Rocky's okay? Because I still have some of those triggers, and I tell him, I'm so sorry. That's not you. Yeah. That's me. Yeah. That's my human nature. Sure. But my faith is just blown up. And I am not a good prayer when it comes to praying over people. But I have found that God has given me strength to outwardly pray. He's given me strength to talk about these things that are in our family and in our household and in around us. Other people who message us silently will tell us the things that are going on in their house, but please don't tell anybody, but can you pray for me? Mm-hmm. Okay, no problem, and that's the great thing about technology. You can record a prayer and send it to somebody. And I always told Rocky, I don't want to be the people who hide behind it. I want to bring it to the forefront so that other people can see what's going on in our lives and see that it's Jesus and then that it's God. Like this, we didn't do. Like we couldn't have done it. Mm-hmm. Like he even gives us strength to overcome the fear of talking into microphones, being filmed. Like that's big. Yeah. I don't know. I've been set on fire, and ever since a year ago, I've been set on fire.
What about the new job?
Oh, and I've been at where I'm at for 17 years working in preschool. I don't have, he grew up there. He literally grew up there and came back around and started bringing his guitar and playing music for the kids. That was like a healing thing for him to come. That was great. And also for me to keep eyes on him at all times because I was still in that hurt stage. Yeah. But this opportunity has happened. And a friend of mine who works in our school district was just like, hey, this opportunity came up. And I was like, I'm not good enough. I don't have college. I graduate high school. Mm-hmm. I'm not good enough. They want to meet you. 10 minutes in, and I get a text back. They loved you. They're really impressed with your training and the things that you know. I'm like, me? Like, I don't have college. Like, I don't know these things. Like, I'm not formally trained. And this opportunity just came up, and now I have a job offer coming. It's a process. Mm-hmm. But I didn't believe in myself, but God did. Mm-hmm. And he showed me, because right now we don't have insurance. Mm-hmm. And you can't have mental health problems and not have insurance. Don't get me started on the government stuff. Like, that's another topic. Yeah. But
that'll get us banned.
Yeah, but now I'm going to have an opportunity that has
that's our goal, is to
insurance.
Get banned.
Yeah. Like, only God knew. Mm-hmm. and only God would have worked, because I didn't even believe in myself at that time. And it's just like every day, something, every day is just amazing. But I've been set on fire for God since that moment that our story, a chapter of our story started. And I just knew from that moment on. I journaled the entire time we were in the hospital for almost 2 weeks, and then we were in a newer rehab for about another 2 weeks.
We were in like a medical cube for about a month.
Yeah.
And I never left, except for, I think I left 2 times out of those entire month and a half because I needed to shower.
Sure.
But I was not going to leave because the devil was still trying to get to him. Like, it's 4 walls in a tiny spot. I mean, that's really hard.
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to walk. And you're not allowed to do anything. So I'm like, I'm not leaving. I was like, bring the guitar. You know, we just would sit and talk and play music. And he would get frustrated because his hand wouldn't work right. And I'm like, it's okay. Just keep trying. And I just tried to journal everything I could. And I made little short video clips that he couldn't see me, of him playing the guitar. And I just have those for me. I have them for me because it just brings it to realization that...
That sounds awful.
It was all... I mean, the situation of what it looked like to what it is now. I have this, what is it, like a visualization now. Like I can't not see it anymore.
Yeah.
And then every time I kind of question anything, like... So again, his memory is a little off, but that could be caused from hitting his head too many times.
I played football.
Like just there's a lot of concussions and stuff.
So football, MMA training.
We have to remember to take our medications for things because there is a chemical imbalance.
Sure.
But he doesn't. So if I don't, then I go back and look. There can be a whole week that we haven't taken it, but he thought he did. He came into the kitchen, but he didn't remember to take it. Yeah. And there's these hills and valleys. And so sometimes it can get really tough in trying to maintain a full-time job and be a mom for 3 kids and a wife. And taking care of your home can be a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And God sustains that. Like I can go a long time without sleep now.
Yeah.
There's this thing.
It's just kind of funny. Yeah. I mean, look. Different seasons call for different things.
Exactly.
I try to beat myself up because I remind myself that at one point I was a Bible student in Bible college at like 20 years old, and I can read the Bible for 4 hours and pray. And now it's like my prayer's like a 15-minute ride home, but I get a lot in the 15 minutes and I commune with God all day.
All day.
So it's like I'm. Okay, so yeah, if there were cameras on me 24/7, I'd probably look like I'm nuts. Yeah. But the reason why that happens is so I'm not nuts. So you're lucky I do this. You're lucky I have this communion, because if I didn't, I don't know where or what I would be doing.
The Bible sits in the car because I'm in my car a lot, waiting to and from. I have my Bible app on my phone that reminds me at when my kids are sleeping in my class right now, I'm reading my Bible app just because I need to keep filling up so that I can keep being a good parent. And again, the parent thing is hard. Like
there's no real manual for it.
No, and I love it and I enjoy every moment of it. But I also remember that I need to take the pressure off of myself. There's no perfect parent.
I think the biggest thing. So growing up, I did not like my dad at all. I don't want to use the word hate, but I really did not like my dad. But at maybe 12 or 13, I understood that he didn't have an easy life either. And then I understood that my mom is really trying and that my dad is really trying. Yes. And I think the easiest thing for a kid who, especially as a adolescent, where you got all those emotions, you got, hormones and stuff, and your parents are just like, no, you can't do that. The easiest thing was they are trying. And it's not like you don't go to college for being a parent. I mean, you can get the closest thing, but you cannot there's no formal training for being a parent. There's no job description. There's no.
It's it's hard. It's hard. It's man, it's privileged.
It's privileged being present.
Because I I thought I was gonna. So my life plan, was to make it as a musician, get signed with the band, and OD in a hotel room full of coke and probably women. So by the age of 20, that was my life plan. So I'd get it out by 20. I'm done. Die great in a grunge band. So original I was. But here I am at 45, 3 kids, married almost 20 years, a life, number one, I don't deserve. And number two, I never could have imagined on my best day with God. And I think that's the thing we think about. We find ourselves in moments that we don't see ahead. And because we don't see it, we either believe it's not there or possible. So that's when people find themselves in these situations and they make an impulsive decision because
it's the dwelling.
Yeah.
You can't dwell in that.
Yeah. And life is not stationary.
Absolutely.
It moves. And there's highs, there are lows, there's things that you don't plan for.
Yeah.
But God is faithful, and if you have literally a couple of people that you can pull up next to and say, this sucks. I'm in the middle of this. This sucks. I don't, you have to be able to have those honest moments.
Yeah.
You have that with God, but you also need it. We also need it with each other. This whole relationship, this kingdom thing is here, but it's here too.
And I think that's perfect. Like you said, in the beginning of, our marriage and having little kids, we didn't want people to see we were struggling. So we didn't join groups. We didn't hang out with people because then people would know the truth that we're struggling.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that we've really been working on now is getting out and being part of people, being part of the community, not just showing up for church on Sunday.
And you know what? You don't have to be friends with everybody.
No, just
But
a couple of people.
but that's the thing. Like sometimes you get this pressure. Like I have to. There's probably going to be people in heaven I don't like.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm pretty sure, and I already know that as I'm walking down the road, people are going to go, "Oh gosh, how did that guy even get in here?" Well, Jesus only, not Jesus or Jesus plus or Jesus with this, that, and the other. And I had this little incantation I did, Jesus, period, end of story. But man, this has been good. I don't know if we had a time, but
No, y'all are going on like an hour and 15 minutes.
It's because we've been working. I mean, we've been talking.
It's all good.
Like we get we would have these moments where he just needed to talk, and we would start at midnight, and we would just talk, and I was just waiting, patiently waiting just to see when, because I know God said that he was going to share a story. God told me that he was going to have a testimony. He wouldn't have put him through, or us in general, we wouldn't have gone through the circumstances we went through if there wasn't a reason and a testimony that needed to be shared.
And that was my outlook on it the entire time. It was, this is going to be one heck of a story. This is going to be one heck of a
But
testimony.
I also kept telling him, this is not a defining thing.
no.
Yeah.
This is something to share and to jump and keep going.
And it's almost like, so I did this, and then I did this, and then guess what? I did this. This is something that I'm really proud of. Even after I went through this and this is what is really cool. It almost adds on to it.
Well, this is just a chapter.
It's a chapter.
But it's an incredible chapter, and God wastes nothing.
Absolutely.
Okay, so even after the miracle of the 5 loaves and fishes, there were leftovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were people who weren't part of the experience who could possibly partake later. You have an incredible story. You have an incredible story. I'm super glad that you guys were willing to come out and share it. Somebody out there needs to hear it.
Yep.
and someone else is going to find hope and strength as a result of your faithfulness and, pointing to God as to how you got through, that maybe they might believe that there's a way out.
And it's not just a story anymore. It's a visual.
Yeah. Yeah, this is real. This is not the, this is the Jesus, see my hands, my feet. You don't doubt. Don't be doubting, believing only. So, well, thank you.
Yeah. Y'all, that was incredible. That was everything I expected and more. And I see myself in both of you because I am a parent and I'm older and I've been you before in my life. And I'm really looking forward to what you're going to be doing in the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the next 20 years, because you have your whole life ahead of you now.
Yeah.
And you know how precious it is and how important it is. And that's the only stuff I've really accepted and learned to accept in the last 7 months. So I just want to thank you guys for being here.
Yeah.
And for Ralph for
Yes,
hosting
thank
this
you.
conversation, because you're perfect for it. And thank you guys so much.
Yeah, I think at the end we'll see if we can get the suicide hotline or something like posted at the end, and
That's something now that they put on all the kids nowadays, their IDs, they have it on the back of it. And I want to say that had to do a lot.
You can even
with
dial
what happened that week.
988 now. It takes you to the suicide hotline.
yeah.
You can text it. There's all different kinds of ways to reach out and help. And the best part is just putting your physical body in somebody else's space and just saying, I'm not okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as we close, if you need to talk to somebody, you have that hotline you can reach out to, but hopefully you have one or two friends, that you can get with and get real with.
And sometimes even a stranger is really great because then there's not a lot of loaded things.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
9
Being
times
with
out of
somebody.
10, I would bet that if you went to a local church, even if you've never been to that church before, and you went up to a leader in that church and said, "Hey, I'm not doing okay. Could you pray for me?"
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And we've
That
had it
pastor,
happen.
that leader would
absolutely.
I'm willing to bet that
They'll go out of their way to pray for you and save your life.
Amen. Well, until we meet again, and certainly not going to be our last meeting.
No, I truly enjoyed being able to share this. It's been weighing on the heart so much. I'm just glad it's finally out. And I just can't wait to see what God does. Oh, I can't wait to see what God does.
Amen. I'm with it. Well, thank you for listening, everybody, and catch you down the road.